Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to do the first 6 poses in the sequence for high blood pressure as given by BKS Iyengar in his book Yoga, the Path to Holistic Health. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. We're going to start using a chair for a supported variation of Uttanasana, which is our standing forward bend. As we use the chair, we're wanting to try and keep the spine quite long and straight. Therefore, we want to make sure that the distance between the breastbone and the navel stays the same length from when we're standing to when we're forward bending. So if we establish ourselves here, we're wanting to forward bend, we need to make sure that that length doesn't shorten as we attempt to come forward and down to bring our forehead to rest on the chair. So that's where, if you do feel stiff, it may be better for you to have the forearms on the top of the chair, on the handle of the chair, and then the forehead resting on the forearms. And so you can see how I'm maintaining the integrity of the spine, the straightness of the spine, and the length of the front of the body. But if you're somewhere between these two, if it's just a bit too challenging to come down to this height, but it's a bit too easy to be on this height, then you could put a bolster on the seat of the chair. I'll bring one in and I'll show you. So with the bolster there, we've integrated the height from the seat to the handle. We're somewhere in between. And then we could fold forward and have our forearms on the bolster and then our forehead on the forearms. Potentially you could reach your arms through and have your forehead on the bolster like so. But if you can go a little deeper, then we'll go down with the forehead to the seat of the chair. We'll establish our feet. We can take our feet close to the width of the mat, at least hip width. You could have them a bit narrower. I often like having them close to the width of the mat as I'm starting my practice, just to ease the hamstrings into this kind of a stretch. So fold at the hips, hinging forward at the hips, maintaining length on the front body between navel and breastbone, and then forearms can come onto the seat and forehead can come onto the forearms. So we're active in the thighs, we're gripping the kneecaps, working with the grip of the quadriceps, opening the back of the knees. So just make sure your knees are not bent in an effort to come down to the chair. So open the back of the knees as you press your thigh bones back. And notice too, when you press your thigh bones back, how that can create more of a feeling of length in the waist and the side body. So top of the thighs pressing back. So it feels as if you're moving your hips back away from the rib cage, elongating the waist, elongating the trunk. And feel the sides of the chest are long, the spine is long and straight, and the chest is also long. Consciously slow your breath down. Particularly notice the exhalations. Can you slow your exhalations down? Now we're going to integrate from this pose to a downward facing dog pose using the chair. So make sure you've got a lot of the mat here behind you so you can walk your feet back. You may need to take your chair further to the front of the mat. So the hands are now on the seat, the sides of the seat of the chair. So I'm turning my hands out and I'm going to walk back. So as I walk back, again I want straight legs and I want a straight spine. So once more, I'm pressing the head of the thighs back away from the chest, elongating the front body, breastbone lengthening forward away from the navel. There may be a stretch coming through the back of the thighs, the hamstrings. So we observe that as we roll the pelvis forward, lift the sitting bones, lift the buttocks. But you're active in the arms and the legs here, feeling the head can relax
But just watch, if you drop the head down significantly, it may impact on what's happening here in the shoulder blade area. So good idea to keep the ears between the upper arms. So the neck can be long, but we're not compromising the space between the shoulder blades. Again, observe the quality of your breath and see if you can slow the breath down, particularly noticing the exhalations. Can you lengthen the exhalations? And then we'll come out of the pose. So you can raise the head up, bend your knees, step forward to stand up. We're going to move on to a deeper variation of Uttanasana, the standing forward bend. So I'm going to bring in a couple of bricks for my head to come down onto. Now, of course, this is dependent on whether you're supple, whether the hamstrings are willing to give, whether you're capable of rolling the pelvis forward and hinging forward in the hips. And it also can depend on what's going on in your lower back. If you've got concerns in your lower back, better to stay with the variation of Uttanasana using the chair, just like we did at the very beginning of this session. If you feel you can go deeper, then bring in a couple of bricks. For Uttanasana with bricks, we can stack the bricks in a number of different ways. So we can have a flat brick and a tall brick. That's one option. We could have a blade-shaped brick and a tall brick. We could even have two tall bricks. We note that if we have two tall bricks, it would be more the forehead that's coming onto the bricks. Maybe you could manage the crown of the head, but that may be if there's what I would say a collapse in the front body. Ideally, we're rotating forward from the hips, rotating the pelvis over the femur bones, enough that we can bring the head down a little lower so that we have the top of the head coming onto our support. Now, what could be helpful is taking your feet as wide as the mat and finding out what level of support is suitable for you. And in time, you actually may be able to diminish that height. So I'm demonstrating with just one tall brick. I've got my feet as wide as the mat. The outer feet are in line with the outer mat. And I'm going to reach fingertips to the floor outside the edges of the mat, and I want to draw the shoulder blades up the back towards the hips. So again, I'm working the thigh muscles. There's a grip here of the kneecaps. The kneecaps are flattening into the knee joint as the quadriceps are drawing up. Front thigh muscles active. Back of the thighs are lengthening and broadening. Back of the knees are broadening and lengthening as well. So sitting bones, buttocks lifting up. Shoulder blades lifting up, drawing up towards your hips. But we want a restful quality in the head. So as the head settles onto the brick, onto the support, can you find some quietness there? And again, can you notice your breath? Slow it down, intending to lengthen your exhalations. Then we're slowly going to raise the head. We're not going to stand all the way up because we're going to transition to Prasarita Padottanasana, the spread foot intense stretch pose. Now again, we can use our bricks. So bend your knees, put your bricks to the side for a moment and turn yourself around so that you can use the length of your mat. So you'll have the heels towards the back line of the mat. That can be helpful because that indicates where we want to bring the hands eventually. Then we're going to see if we can bring the crown of the head towards the floor or perhaps to our bricks. Again, we can stack the bricks so that they're the right height. So if you feel stiff in the legs, certainly explore taking the legs a little wider, and then you can explore what height suits you to bring the head down. Can you get the crown of the head down? And play with that. Play with what height. I'm going to put my bricks to the side because I'm going to get the crown of the head to the floor, and I sweep the hands back between the feet so the heels of the hands come in line with the heels of the feet as the crown comes towards the floor. So remember to use adequate support if you find it difficult to get your head down. You could also do this with a chair, similar to how we worked with the standing forward bend at the beginning of the class. So legs are quite wide, spread the little toes, grip the kneecaps, work your quadricep muscles, and as you press your hands into the mat, it's as if you're trying to push the mat forward away from the feet, and that will help to bring the torso and the head down. Then as you're working through the arms like that, can you draw your shoulder tips up away from the floor and lift your shoulder blades up the back towards your hips. Relax the abdomen. Feel as you exhale, the abdominal contents gently recede back towards the back abdominal wall. So again, you're observing the quality of your breath. Can you lengthen your exhalations? Now we'll slowly come out of the pose. So we're going to raise the head up. You walk the hands forward. Keep the head down and bring your legs in. You can step or shimmy them in as I am. And come down onto your knees. And if you're capable of kneeling upright, just sit for a moment. We're going to transition to Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog pose, and we're going to use support. I've got 2 bricks here. Let's see if we can use 2 bricks for support. I'm going to demonstrate with a flat brick, but then a diagonal brick. Now, the diagonal brick is helpful to bring the crown of the head onto. There could be restriction in the shoulders, which could make it difficult to get the crown of the head down. You could also try turning the brick up, blade shape like so. One thing to note when we're bringing the weight onto the crown is we don't want the bricks to slide on the mat, of course. So if your bricks are sticking to the mat, great. We want this mat to be sticky. That's why we call them sticky mats. But if they do slide, you might want to put something very heavy, some kind of weight, a sandbag or something, on the floor so it stops your bricks from sliding. Now, as I'm setting up for dog pose, I want to have the hands further forward than the line of the bricks. If I try to lift into dog pose with my hands in line with the bricks, then you'll see how far away my head is from the bricks. And then there's this question, well, do I have to bend the elbows to get the head down? And that seems very odd. So you need to have the hands further forward so that then when you lift into your dog pose, you can tuck your chin into the chest and bring the crown onto your brick. It's okay if the front of the brick lifts. Find out what's going to work for you so that the crown of the head can settle onto the brick, the arms can stay straight, so the arms and the legs are active. For some of us, it's helpful to keep the heels lifted somewhat so that we can lift the sitting bones and lift the buttocks adequately, which then keeps the spine long and straight. If you have the capacity to descend the heels and you're able to maintain a long straight spine, then you can go there. Press the head of the thighs up away from the chest. So you're contributing to lengthening the front of the body, just as we have been in Uttanasana. As you stay active in the arms and the legs, can you find a quiet quality in the head, with the head supported? Observe your breath and slow the breath down. And we come out of the pose, so you can lift the head off the bricks, bend your knees, and have your big toes touching, knees apart. And let's just settle back, hips to the feet, buttocks to heels. You can cross your forearms, rest your forehead on your forearms for a moment. And as you're ready, we come to sit up. Now the next pose is a kneeling pose. So if knees are problematic, if it's difficult for you to kneel, then we need to build up the height underneath the buttocks. So often I'll practice with just one brick. So if I turn my back to you, I'll practice with one flat brick here. Between the feet, the knees are together, and I sit down on the brick. And of course, if that is not good for you, your knees don't like it, you could use your two bricks like so, or like so. And even still, if that's difficult, then it might be best for you to find a seat on a chair. I do have a video in my video library. It's titled Therapeutic Number 9, where we go through a number of different prop setups to help work out how to sit in Virasana, the hero pose, our kneeling pose, with more comfort and ease. And that refers to not just knees, but the ankles, the feet, the quadriceps, and then of course the lower back when we're starting to want to recline. We're not reclining today, we're going to sit. So you find out what height suits you to have between your feet so that you can sit with ease. We're simply going to sit. So as you sit, try and stay compact. Don't let the feet flare out wide. Keep the feet in quite close. Point the toes directly back. Don't let them curl in or turn out. Inner thighs are together, and we can rest the hands on the thighs. But as you're sitting up straight, feel the weight of the sit bones on your brick. Draw the navel up and back towards the back abdominal wall so that you're supporting your posture. You're helping support the lower back with your abdominal tone. Lift the chest, roll your shoulders back and down, and set your gaze eyes at eye level. So your gaze is directly forward in line with your eyes, and you soften your gaze. Not particularly focused on anything. There's a relaxed gaze and there's a relaxed facial expression. What could be helpful for the awareness of our posture and how we're sitting is using a brick, if you've got a spare brick, on the crown of the head. So we hold the brick with our hands, of course, as we're settling the brick on the crown. Press the crown up into the brick. Feel that the lift in the pose stems from the base. So you've got your sitting bones anchored in the brick, then you're lifting up the lumbar spine, containing the lift here of the abdomen, chest lifting, and then you want to find out, can the brick stay on your head? If you've got a wooden brick, be extra careful that it doesn't slip and hurt you. Let's just see if we can maintain this upright lift, find some ease as we get steady here. So we get steady physically. We also get steady mentally and emotionally, and what can help with that is
Not only keeping the body steady, but keeping your gaze steady on one point, eyes at eye level. Soften your gaze, quieten your facial muscles. Slow your breath down. As you're ready to come out of the pose, reach your hand up, take your brick off the head, and let's come out of the pose. As I mentioned at the beginning of this class, we were just practicing the first 6 poses in the sequence for high blood pressure as given by BKS Iyengar. And I have got the full length class in my video library on my website. Go to heatherkitchenyoga.com.au and you'll see that there are well over 400 classes, full-length classes in that video library, and I'm adding new classes to it every week. I invite you to start your subscription with a 7-day free trial. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.